Okay. All right, we're live. Hello and welcome everyone to a brand new episode of Let's Talk Broncos, brought to you by Mile High Sports. You can follow us on Twitter at Mile High Sports, the LTB Podcast, Bree0322, JR Drafts, and at Zach_Seegers. You can find all of Zach and Joey's excellent writing on milehighsports.com and listen to any of our previous episodes on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to our new YouTube channel, and if Facebook or Instagram is your thing, you can add us there too. Joey and Zach, how are you this evening?
I'm hyped up, man. The Avs won last night. Colorado sports is looking good. Of course, man, it's just a different feeling waking up knowing that your hometown team just won the whole Stanley Cup and all that. It's awesome. And then Kyrie Irving signed back with the Nets. I was afraid that he was going to go to the Lakers. So all of it's good news.
Yeah, same. I going to a watch party for the Avs game last night and just seeing Denver react to that championship was so special. I don't know, that was an absolute joy. And now we have Mike Purcell joining us today, so I'm absolutely thrilled for that as well.
Absolutely. And so without further ado, I do want to remind anybody watching on Twitter that you need to jump over to the YouTube stream, which is linked in the thread, so you can get your questions and comments highlighted. But without further ado, I don't want to waste any more time. So let's bring in our guest. Born and raised in Colorado, he attended Highlands Ranch High School before making his way over to the University of Wyoming. Formerly undrafted, he's always chasing dreams. And there's no doubt his story is one of perseverance. We're very excited to welcome number 98 of your Denver Broncos, the Mike Purcell. Hey,
Mike, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. Can't complain at all.
There you go. Are you hyped up about the Avs? Are you much of a hockey guy?
Oh, of course, when they're winning like that,
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, obviously in Denver, and Avs was always the team. So
Yeah, there you go,
it's
man.
awesome to see them come back and win it all. So
For sure.
it's a bright future for Colorado sports. That's for sure.
When you see the other teams do that well, I think everyone's asked, like every Broncos player at every press conference, like, is it exciting to see that success rather? And I think, of course, it's exciting. But does it add any pressure on you guys? Like it's one thing if the Nuggets are struggling and the Avs are struggling and the Rockies are being the Rockies. But now when you have, Jokic winning back-to-back MVPs and the Avs, winning Stanley Cups, and really quality teams, competitive products, in the market. Does that add any pressure to you this upcoming season?
I'd say, obviously a little bit. You definitely want to be a team to continue that success, and for us, it's trying to get back to that. It's 7 years now, 6 years removed from the Super Bowl, from winning it. So, we definitely want to get back to that. And obviously now with, the Nuggets doing well and obviously Avs winning it all last night, it's definitely something that we want to continue and get back to, that's for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for joining us. I did want to wish you a happy belated Father's Day. And I also wanted to say happy early 4th of July because it's just right around the corner. And the holiday is known for its grilling opportunities. And we heard you make a mean tri-tip. We also heard that a buddy of our show, that you guys have a bit of a friendly competition of who makes the best. What do you have to say about that? And what's your favorite meal to make on the grill?
Well, first of all, thank you for the Father's Day. And yeah, 4th of July is definitely one of the favorite holidays.
There you go.
And I wouldn't, honestly, for me, it's not all about being on the grill, but it's more about the fireworks show for me. But
Yeah.
it's the tri-tip. Yeah, that's John. Shout out to John. I know he's listening in. I know he's watching. But no, John has honestly I give it to John, honestly, because John made the best tri-tip that I've ever had.
Really?
Actually, it was in the sous vide. Actually, it wasn't even like smoked or anything like that. So when it comes down to sous vide, his was hands down the best. I had just moved into our new house that we built, and he brought it over while we were unpacking and hanging up TVs and whatnot. And it's seriously the best thing I had ever tasted. But for me, it's like, yeah, lately I've been all about the tri-tip. Actually, right now, I'm in the car, but I had to shoot down to the store and pick up a new propane tank. I actually got family got me a little pizza cooking oven.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna fire that up tonight, make some homemade pizzas, see how those turn out. So
Well, there you go, man.
it's exciting, yeah.
Well, okay. Starting off with some like easier questions here. We've had two other Broncos on. We've had Calvin Anderson, right, and we've had PJ Locke, and I've asked them both about the music now at practice, and they say Hackett kind of has a killer playlist. Do you agree? Is this like a unanimous thing?
No, I think they
Absolutely.
went opposite.
No, they thought Hackett had what do you say?
PJ.
I say he does.
You think he does?
Okay,
I think
you're
he
the
does,
deciding
yeah.
vote here.
Which side was PJ on?
PJ thought he didn't realize it was Hackett's playlist, and he was like, "Man, I might need to give Hackett a talking to about that playlist." Calvin was a big fan of it and was like, "Oh, he's been killing it. We're loving it." He was more in line with you.
Yeah. I definitely think, obviously, and even when he was hired and they were, doing the whole behind the scenes and he was moving, he had his records and the Dr. Dre, all those records that he had. Definitely, he's an older school vibe, which I like.
Yeah.
I like that older school Dr. Dre, all those guys. Like that's kind of that's what I
more
like
your alley.
more. Yeah. So yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot. It's honestly a lot different than what we had with Vic, but
yeah, I guess any music at practice is probably a little better than no music.
Yeah. We had it during stretch, but that was it. So it's nice to kind of have it throughout practice, and it kind of just changes the whole vibe. So
totally. Well, hey, okay. So building off of that question, you kind of answered this. Maybe it's a little different. What is your pregame playlist like? You're heading into a big, maybe it's a primetime game, it's a Sunday night game. What's on that playlist?
I don't have like one specific playlist. And
okay.
Honestly, sometimes it bugs me because I'm like, I want a song and I can't find it. So I don't really have like one song or one playlist that I listen to. It's kind of I'll put it on shuffle unless there's something that I do like. It's I don't know, Drake, Lil Wayne. I don't know, some of that old school Tupac, Biggie, any of those. Really, it's not. I don't have like one specific song or one specific playlist.
Yeah,
just kind of whatever I'm feeling at the time.
It's more of a shuffle.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. There we go.
So you talked about growing up, you're from the Colorado area, played high school football at Highlands Ranch. Recently, I was actually writing a piece covering some of the Colorado prep teams in the area. And it's just such a special atmosphere. Do you have a favorite memory of playing Colorado high school sports?
So technically, the only game that I had ever been to growing up for the Broncos is one that I actually played at halftime. This is my Pee Wee football team, the Powell Hawks. We ended up, luckily enough, playing at halftime. I don't know exactly how we got it or whatnot, but
that's cool.
It's the only game that I actually ever been to growing up. People always ask like, "Oh, you must have came to games all the time when you were growing up." I was like, "No, I watched them, but I was never at the games. That's the only game I actually ever attended." So it's kind of that, it just being able to do that when I was a kid, and obviously coming around full circle and being able to play for the hometown teams.
What was that, Joey? Your audio glitched out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, just it glitched out. What was your question?
Sorry, I did glitch out for a second there. Maybe you answered this while I was gone, but so you were a Broncos fan growing up?
Absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely. All right.
Yep.
Were you a fan of all the local teams or like Lakers for NBA, or like did you mix and match?
No, it's mainly the hometown teams. Obviously, there's players from other teams like Jordan, obviously like a Kobe fan, Jordan, LeBron to a point. It's just like there's certain players here and there, and even like for football, it's like Troy Polamalu, obviously with the Polynesian background, Junior Seau, things like that. But other than that, it was Denver, like Al Wilson, Mountain Navasa. It was pretty cool. Even like John Lynch, Mike Shanahan, like that whole era of Denver. When they were prime and back to back and whatnot.
All right,
Definitely,
so you passed the test. That's a good news. You were gonna come on here and say, "No, I grew up a Chiefs fan." I don't know.
Oh no.
We just remove Mike from the show. No,
Yeah.
we would never do that. Mike, we do have a fan question from Glenn Hauser. He said, as a Colorado native, can you? Oh, we lost him. We got a little connection issue. Glenn, we'll get to your question as soon as he gets back on right here. As we're talking, I did just kind of want to touch on that a little bit. Is it's exciting to have a homegrown player here with us discussing what it's like, not only rooting and playing for home teams, but also just kind of buying into the fandom as we all have. So the Colorado Avalanche, as we touched on earlier, went ahead and won the Stanley Cup. And thank goodness it happened in 6 games and not 7, because I don't think I could stomach a game 7. How about you guys?
Yeah,
I don't
no,
think so.
I definitely couldn't have. It took literally everything out of me. Everything out of me. That Avs series was insane. Especially, my dad is really into the Avs, and he's like the sports fan where we can't watch in the same room sometimes because he's going to get super duper negative while I'm kind of a little more positive. It could be a one goal game with 30 minutes left in the game, and he's going to say we lost, no doubt about it. So I definitely am glad it was over.
No, I think so too. And I think it was really intense, just the reaction to the last final seconds. So the Avs had the lead, obviously, and we just had to wait it out there as we were watching from wherever we were. Thankfully, Zach and I were together, so we were able to enjoy that. Looks like Mike is back with us, so we're going to add him back onto the screen. Hey, welcome
I'm
back.
sorry
Hey,
about that.
no, you're all good.
Oh my
No,
goodness, my phone just overheated. It's 103 out here in Boise. When
Oh,
I'm
great.
still in the car, and all of a sudden my phone overheated. So
Shit,
sorry
well,
about
be
that.
careful, Mike. We don't want you to die mid radio show.
don't
No,
don't
it's
tell
good. It's just
people.
the phone.
Don't tell people what you were doing if you somehow overheat in there. Crack a window for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the AC is blasting, and that's what helped cool down the phone pretty quick. But
Oh,
other than
good.
that, it was sitting right in the sun, and yeah, the sun's beaming here. So
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
before we lost connection with you, I had a fan comment from the chat. Glenn Hauser wants to know, as a Colorado native, can you describe your first home game as a pro and what it was like?
yeah, so it was. What was the first? Technically, my first game in Denver, I guess, was technically on the visitor sideline. It was when I was with San Fran. Um, but even it's kind of crazy. So my first NFL game at all was a preseason game. It was in San Fran, but it was against Denver. So it's kind of cool to kind of have that aspect of things.
For sure.
And then fast forward the next year, we played them again in preseason here, well, in Denver. So that was pretty cool to see all the fans. I was on the sideline. I was on the opposite sideline when Manning broke the touchdown record. So
Oh,
to
that's
see
cool.
the fans, I mean,
I guess you were on the
obviously
opposing
Colorado.
team.
Yeah. So the Colorado side of me, obviously, it was like, to see the atmosphere, and when that happened, it was unreal to see. It's like, obviously I was on the other sideline,
Yeah.
but yeah, to see that and at least be able to witness that, regardless if it was on the other sideline, was still pretty cool. But I think when I was in Denver, my first home game, I was technically actually inactive, but then turned around, and I want to say the first game I started, I was active for the first game. We played in Oakland, and then I sat for 3 games. Ended up starting again for the Chargers game in LA, and then we came back for a home game, and that's when we played the Titans. And we shut them out 16-0.
There you go.
And to be able to play that game, I'm pretty sure we wore the blue jerseys, which is one of my favorite jerseys.
They're definitely the best jerseys. Change them back, by the way.
Yeah. So to have that, I think they announced defensive starters that game. So, just to have that was honestly the dream come true.
Yeah.
To be able to hear your name coming out the tunnel in your hometown team, and to come out with a win like that. And I played really well that game, had a good game, and it was a bonus against one of the best running backs in Derrick Henry. So
Yeah, beast, right? He's huge.
Yeah.
I've just heard stories about standing next to him where it's like he's even bigger than what you think he is on TV. But anyways, I guess building off that question, so I'm wondering when you were a rookie, or I think it would be when you were a rookie, um, did you have a more of a welcome to the NFL moment? Like, oh my God, like this guy is a beast, or I have a moment where it's like, I don't know, like this is welcome to the NFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I guess kind of just the first time you walk into the locker room, it's
Yeah.
usually just the rookies. But when the vets do come in, it's like you see some of the vets that you've looked up to, you've watched play for so many years. And that first defense that I was a part of my rookie year in San Fran was just absolutely stacked. Um, I mean, honestly, that's the year we lost to Seattle in the NFC Championship. Seattle ended up going on to beat Denver in
Right.
2013.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry to bring up that bad memory of the Super Bowl, but yeah, it's kind of tough because yeah, I think honestly, to me, that was the Super Bowl. Anybody who would have went into that game the next week, I think, obviously would have come out victorious.
hmm
I mean, it's hard to say that being a Bronco now, but yeah, so it was close to being a ring. But that whole defense that year, being around those players, was just absolutely unreal. And I chose to be a part of that. Obviously, like how you guys said, I was undrafted, and I drew quite a bit of interest from other teams. But when I think it was the Rams at the time that I wanted to sign in San Fran, they're like, well, they drafted a bunch of players. We didn't draft any D linemen. We drafted two. Their defensive line is absolutely stacked. And to me, it was more of they've shown the most interest to me, regardless
Right.
of what they did. And it's an opportunity to learn. So in the end, it's not that the preseason for anybody, whether you're a rookie or you're a vet, no matter what it is, preseason is time to make the team. First and foremost, the team that you're on, but also any other team in the league. Um, you perform well enough, even if your team lets you go for whatever reason, another team could sign you. So it's a tryout for every team in the NFL.
Right.
So I kind of took it like that, and that's why I ended up signing in San Fran. And I stuck there for the practice squad for the first year and a half. Ended up being activated the next year, and I wouldn't change it. That defensive that I learned with, I think that was just kind of a welcome to the NFL type thing. It
Oh,
was
for sure.
it,
Yeah,
it
when
was
you
it was
look
neat to
back
see.
at that defense, man, it's insane. Like, tell me if I got any of these names wrong, but it's like Alden Smith, Justin Smith on that defensive line, and
Yep,
then behind you, you got Patrick Willis, you got Navarro
Navarro
Bowman.
Bowman. Yep,
Woo, yeah,
yeah,
that would
it
definitely
was.
be a welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, that whole defense. Ray Donald, Ahmad Brooks,
Yeah,
Ian, Flynn, like you said, Bowman, Willis. That linebacking core was just unreal.
yeah,
Even our DBs, we had our first round pick was Eric Reed and
yep.
Dante Whitner.
That that's who I was trying to think of. He
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
monster.
yeah. It was a stacked defense for sure. Obviously, our offense was really, really, really good too. Frank Gore at the time it was Colin Kaepernick, but
Yep.
all those guys, the offensive line was just unreal. And they made it to the Super Bowl the year before. Ended up losing to Baltimore. Um, so it was a hell of a team, and I wouldn't change that at all. So
Talking more about your journey to the Broncos, you started with the Niners and bounced around a bit, landed in the AAF, and then from there got to the Broncos and really have been a star for them ever since getting here. I'm curious, with all these competing football leagues, these spring leagues springing up, you've got the USFL going on now, XFL starting up next year, I believe. They already had an earlier run, and then, of course, the AAF. Do you think there should be some sort of developmental league for the NFL, or do you think college takes care of that? And if you do think there should be one, how would you run it? Is there something you think the AAF did wrong that you would have done differently?
being a part of the AAF, it's kind of hard to say. I think there should be some other league like that. Obviously, the USFL seems to be doing pretty well. I actually haven't watched so many other games or watched it much. Um, but I wouldn't be back here if it wasn't for the AAF. So to kind of have that other opportunity, it's not like you can go back to playing college. Um, Semi-pro is not. I mean, it's really nothing. I don't think that's you kind of go that route. It's really nothing. I don't think CFL is there, but I don't know everything about the CFL, but I know you're kind of locked into your contracts for 2 years at least. Um, so I think there is something. I'm interested to see how that XFL will do, how the continued success of the USFL. But the AAF was definitely fun. It was a chance for me to get back to football. I wasn't done playing football, and I think that's
Right.
what it really came down to. I love the sport. Obviously, it's crazy to call it my job now, but it's something that I love to do, and I wasn't done playing. So it kind of brought me back to the love of the game.
Right.
The year before I joined the AAF, it was honestly hell. Bounced around 7 different teams. I was a free agent, and it really just brought that love of the game itself back. And obviously, what came of it was a tryout with Denver when Vic got signed, and turned out to be pretty successful. So, I'm thankful for that opportunity. So I think there should be something. We'll see how these leagues pan out, and it's something that I think is valuable. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, you look at all the other sports, right? Like they all have stuff like this. You can keep a player down in the minors for however long, and then the college game is so different from the pro game. It just, I could imagine that it would be very beneficial to players, especially players at your position or offensive lineman, right? Like in practice, you can only get such a contact heavy position, right? And in practice, you really can't do that often. So getting those reps would probably be valuable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it also comes down to numbers too. You can only have so many. Obviously, football is the biggest sport. I feel like, and you carry the most people. But to be able to have that many people comes down to numbers sometimes. And whether you don't make one team, you're good enough to play, but obviously other teams may be filled. Injuries will happen, so to be able to be ready and be able to come into play is key. So I think as far as it comes down to numbers, it's nice to have another league to be able to prepare people for that aspect.
For sure. For sure. Go ahead, Bray.
Oh, I just wanted to ask quickly about family over everything, and I know that's a really important message that you and Christina kind of carry forward with your family. Obviously, can you talk to me a little bit about that? How a little bit about that, and you noted as motivation for how you show up on and off the field. Can you talk to me about this and how it's kind of prepared you each off season to go in strong and with a full head on your shoulders?
Yeah, to obviously have her and the two little ones, 7-year-old son and 4-year-old daughter, it kind of just changes everything. It's not just for you. Obviously, you're trying to provide for your family. So in the end, it's you're providing for them, and you want to be able to do everything that you can to make sure that they have a life that you want them to have. Even better than what my childhood was. It's not that mine was bad at all. It's just I want to give them, every opportunity that they can uh, to do what they want, to be successful, whatever it may be. So it's family is definitely a big motivation for what I do.
Sorry, Joey, you go.
Okay. I was just curious. You were talking a little earlier about, I was looking up, right? Like, so for your prep, I'm looking at all the different teams you're on. I just went to Wikipedia real quick. I'm like, damn, Mike Purcell, how many teams is it? It's been 7 teams, right?
7, yeah. So for San Fran, I signed, played there for about 5 years, went to the Rams to Chicago to Carolina to New England to Kansas City, and then the AF, now Denver.
Thanks. Yeah. So 7 teams. And then
Stallions represent.
Yeah, exactly. And then undrafted on top of that. I'm curious if that changed your perspective on the game. Like, did it change your appreciation now that you found a home? Or does it make you, I guess, like, work that much harder than the guy next to you, or how has it changed your perspective, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, to be undrafted, obviously, I want to play with a chip on my shoulder. I think I
Right.
was good enough to be drafted, but in the end, I wouldn't change that just because I did have the opportunity to pick where I wanted to go.
Right.
So, obviously, I don't want to tell people like, oh, if it comes down to the 7th round, I'd rather go undrafted because I mean, it's weird to say, but I
Yeah.
had the opportunity to pick where I wanted to go, and I wouldn't change that at all. So I obviously had the chip on my shoulder. As far as everything else, like the first year was obviously pre-squad, and luckily enough with San Fran, they kept people in their pre-squad because they treated it like a team. You traveled everywhere the team, you did everything the team did.
That's cool.
Some teams, you don't travel.
Right.
You practice during the week. If it's an away game, they leave you home. Sometimes you don't even have to go to the home games. Even it's kind of weird, but San Fran prepared you like you were playing the game, which was it came in handy if you ever got pulled up. Um, so yeah, all those things, it was weird when San Fran did let me go. I was really in limbo to what would happen next. I'd never been on another team, didn't know how it all worked, and that whole year was just, it was wild. I was in LA for the off season. They let me go. Chicago was about a month. Carolina was only a week, less than a week actually. New England was 2 different stints. Um, Kansas City ended up being 2 different stints as well. Um, so it just kind of that whole year really just I battled through a lot. So to be able to find my home again when I got to Denver and to be able to sign the extension, all that it made everything else worth it to have that chip on my shoulder and be able to motivate myself to do it all.
Totally. You definitely made an impact on Fangio, right? He brought you from San Fran to Denver, and then this is where you
Yep.
got your
Chicago
extension
too.
and you kind of found a home. Yeah, Chicago.
Yeah, I had a little stint with him in Chicago as well. So yeah, it was definitely a battle, but I wouldn't change it. It's been a journey and it's been all worth it for sure.
Oh yeah, man.
So I'm curious. We've seen a bit of swinging back towards an investment in the run game in the NFL. You see Jordan Davis being a really high draft pick. I think that's the most clear example, but really a investment back in the run game, and the wave of Fangio defenses sweeping the NFL is a big part of that. I'm curious, what is your opinion of that trend and of someone like Jordan Davis, who projects to be an awesome 2-gapping run stuffer like yourself, going top 15? How does that, what's your reaction to that? How does it make you feel?
No, regardless of what happens, teams are going to try to run the ball. So to be able to stop that run, it's key. That's first and foremost with anything. Regardless if a team is, a pass-heavy team, in the end, if they can get runs that are 5 yards a pop, what's the point of risking throwing a turnover, throwing an interception, anything like that? It keeps the clock running. It's ball control. It's time management. It's key. So to be able to stop the run and force them to do something, obviously from stopping the run, you get the quarterback in the pocket, and then you kind of let your pass rushers go from there. And to have the pass rushers that we have, obviously it's key. What we want to do is we want to get them on the field and get them after the quarterback. So, and that's any team, honestly. To be able to stop the run is first and foremost, I think, the biggest key. So it's kind of something that's huge now, and you have that run stopper, however many it may be. It's definitely key.
All right. One last little question here for you. I'm curious. You've coached. Obviously, we hired a new defensive coordinator, Coach E. We heard good things about him from PJ and other players. PJ spoke highly of him, saying he was a player's coach. But I thought maybe you could bring a little different perspective, because if I'm right, you've played on teams that Coach E has coached before, correct?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So how is he like? Because I'll let you know, like Broncos fans, he's like the biggest question mark. No one knows about him really. Like we know about his resume. He has a sick resume. Coached under Wade Phillips, Vic Fangio, a bunch of like ridiculous defensive coordinators, right? But
Yeah.
I'm interested to get your perspective.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy. And obviously, like PJ said, he is a player's coach. And like you said, the coaches that he's been under, amazing track records speak for themselves.
Yeah.
He's a great dude. I've seen he's a great mind. So everything that he knows about the game, and he knows how to coach with that. He's young, obviously, so to be able to bring that younger aspect of the game into it, kind of, obviously there's only so many vets in the game that know what it was years ago. But
Yeah.
to have it where it is now, to have a coach that does that and brings that younger aspect into the game, younger coaches, all that, but still have the high energy that he has.
Yeah.
It's great, and I was with him in San Fran for a couple of years, ended up being with him in LA with Wade, and he's such a smart guy, smart
That's
coach,
cool.
and it's exciting.
Like I said, man, his resume is pretty cool because it's like not just I'll just carry on. It's not just defenses that you're all good, man. It's not just defenses like under one specific type. Like Wade Phillips runs a completely different defense than Vic Fangio. They're like completely different type of guys. So it's cool. But legends in their own respective on the defensive side of the ball. So it's just cool having a guy that's gotten tutelage from each of these, I don't know, legends of the defensive side of the ball. Really cool.
So we've got another fan question for you here. Davis Breakdowns, our friend Robbie asks, do you feel more comfortable two-gapping or playing gap and a half?
To me, there's similarities in each, I guess. To be able to two-gap and, kind of gap and a half, for me, it kind of goes both hand in hand. If we want to make it less simple and make sure, it's more sound football, I guess the gap and a half, that's kind of where it comes in. You have your gap, you're going to handle that. That's your main priority. Anything off of that, that gap and a half, you kind of want to. It's the game within the game when you have an offensive lineman in a certain position and the running back sees you. Where is he going to go? If he's going to try to make you throw off one side or the other. Comes down to the like I said, the game within the game. So for me, I can do both. I like doing both. But as far as like the defense goes, I can do when I'm inside the middle, head up in the center, it's two gap.
Yeah.
When you start to kind of move out, I like the gap and a half. You got to play that game within the game with the running back when you get eye contact in the backfield. It's crazy, but it's kind of both. I don't know.
Well, there you go, man. I think now we're gonna transition to just some rapid fire questions, right? So you're just gonna give us what your first answer is. No thing about it. It's not tough questions. We're just curious about you. So Bree's gonna take it away here.
I am. They're super hard. No, they're pretty fun. I do want to know, what's your favorite video game?
Right now it's Call of Duty.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Are you still streaming on Twitch?
I haven't in a while. I actually kind of took a break from the game for a little bit, spending more time with the family and whatnot. But I'll get back to it. That's for sure.
All right, yeah, we're looking for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do need to know which defensive lineman has the best style.
Me.
You.
Other than me, I don't know. We'll have to see. And obviously now DJ coming in. It kind of depends on what you want to go on or off the field. Us we kind of like Deshaun likes the custom cleats like I do, and I know now DJ does too. So when it comes down to on the field, we'll see. Off the field, I don't know. Everybody kind of has some style, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing everyone has a little style at least.
Exactly. Yeah. If you we'll make fun of you. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I need to get myself one of those MP chains then, so I can have some style too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
Not my initials, but I'm going to go with it. Are you also the best cook on the team?
Oh, I don't know. There was a little cook off this off season that went down with packet put together with. I know DJ was a part of it. Big Ben on the O-line, and
Not McManus.
our OC. No, Brett B-Mac wasn't on it. But, those guys, when I saw them put together, so one made street tacos, one was the pork chops, and now DJ did some barbecue wings, and they're all some pretty good cooks. It's not me. I couldn't tell you who the best is though.
Okay. No, that's fair. If you could start a podcast with one of your current or former teammates, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I don't know.
You don't know?
I have to really think about that one.
That's okay.
All right, we'll circle back at the end. We'll finish.
You can tweet that one out.
Yeah, we'll tweet that one out when I figure it out.
I know you and the family love vacationing. What's the best vacation spot?
To me, I always love going back to Hawaii. That's where my mom's from. My dad's from Samoa, and to go back there, it's kind of like going back home. The islands and everything out there. So I got family out there. So it's where I was used to go when I was growing up. I used to spend all summers there. My dad works for the airlines, so we'd sometimes leave school early. He'd drop us off, live there with our grandparents all summer, and pick us up at the end of summer and back to school. So.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, no, that sounds very ideal.
Yeah.
Do you have a fear? And I'm talking fear like spiders, snakes, heights,
Clowns.
My biggest fear, I'd rather go like skydiving and do something like that rather than letting a spider crawl over me. I like spiders.
Oh no!
And the little ones I don't mind, but it's just like I would never let a tarantula crawl on me.
No.
So they have to be bigger than like a half
They'd have
dollar.
to be. Yeah, they'd have to be pretty big. I don't like them.
That's okay. I am also there with you.
I'm judging you if you do. If someone likes the tarantula crawling on them, it's crazy.
Not a chance.
What food could you eat every single day and not get sick of it?
Hawaiian food for sure.
Okay.
We talking like macaroni salad, katsu?
Yeah, just like chicken katsu, teriyaki chicken, teriyaki beef, rice.
Is there anywhere in Denver you can find like what's a good spot?
L&L. I know L&L is pretty good.
Okay.
There's
Cool.
L&L now in Aurora. But that for me, it's always been L&L. And
L&L?
My wife is like L&L is whatever. Like,
yeah.
When we lived in San Fran, L&L was kind of a spot that we always go to. So when I'd even go back there in Hawaii, she's like, "Well, why? We're in Hawaii. We can go somewhere else." I'm like, "Well, it's the original, so it's the OG.
Right.
That's what I like."
There you go.
Right. Is there a condiment that you can't stand?
There's a right answer here, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
Are we talking like sandwiches or like anything like that?
Yeah, like anything you put on anything, like ranch. Like some people don't like mayo. There's a lot of people who don't like mustard. Do you not really care for ketchup, or are you good with all of them?
I think I'm good with all of them. I'm interested to see what the wrong answer is or what the wrong one is.
Yeah, I mean, we're not interviewing me here, but people go crazy a little bit with the mayo. Like sometimes people, like I'm not mad at mayo, but you can definitely overdo mayo. Like that's a thing, and sometimes they overdo it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with any of it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Finally, probably the hardest question there is: does pineapple belong on pizza?
Oh, that's a tough one. I like pineapple, but I don't care. I'll eat it, but I don't care for it. So in the end, I'd probably say no.
Okay. There we go.
Sorry.
Those are all the hard-hitting questions, and Mike Purcell went ahead and answered them all flawlessly. There was no right or wrong answer. We really just wanted to get to know Mike tonight. We are so thrilled that you decided to join us and give us all of the time that you did. Do you want to tell anything to the listeners that are here watching you right now or will be watching this show later on? You feel free to promote anything or give anyone a shout out. The floor is yours.
Oh, shout out just to the fans. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for having me on. In the end, just go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Hey, man, we appreciate you coming
Joining
on.
us, Mike.
No problem. Thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a good offseason.
Exactly. We'll see you out there at
Appreciate
training
it.
camp. Have a good one.
Awesome.
See ya.
Thank you guys very much.
Of course. Yeah.
But
Bye. Let's go Broncos. Oh, sorry. Brought him back. Somebody's also touching my keys. We're all over the place. Guys, what a tremendous interview that we just had with Mike Purcell. Could not be more thrilled that he was able to give us the time that he did. Any closing remarks, Zach and Joey?
Mike's a cool guy. I was excited to have him on, man. We haven't had a defensive lineman on yet, and that's kind of my position. Like I played a little defensive line, obviously not like very good at it. I made it to the high school level of defensive line, but it was cool having Mike on. He's a cool guy, and I wish him the best this season for sure.
yeah,
Um,
thanks,
but
Mike, for joining us. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Yeah,
nope.
really happy.
Yep,
Should
tremendous
clarify.
show. I wanted to say thanks to everyone who stopped by in the chat. We weren't able to get to everyone's questions tonight. Mike had a lot to talk about, and we promise what we will do is make sure that the next show that we have, we're trying to cover those questions for you as well. Shout out to everyone who was in the chat tonight. Orange Crush, Glenn Hauser. I know a lot of other people were coming through. There's some people who are messaging me right now, but I do want to thank everyone for listening. Go ahead and subscribe, like the video that you're in right now on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Come follow us on Twitter. Ask us a bunch of questions at the LTB podcast. Make sure you're following all three of us. And again, thanks for everything. Let's go Broncos. And